Hello everybody, it's Norm from Tested, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. It's Bill Doran, all the way here from Seattle. If you guys don't know, Bill, not only is he a contributor for Tested, he is also a fantastic prop maker. You go by Punish Props.
I do. That is the name of our tiny company down in Seattle. My wife and I, we run Punish Props out of our basement currently, and we make props and costumes, and we do lots of video tutorial content and books over at punishprops.com.
Yeah, and we're so happy to have you in the office today because we are going to do a week of build. That's right, yes. I know you've watched plenty of these.
I do, yeah.
And now you're on the other side of the camera, so here's how it works. This entire week, we're going to be working on a special project. The project for this week is going to be foam fabrication. We're going to make some awesome weapons. But today, this first video, which is available to everyone, we're going to talk about foam fabrication, your history of prop making, some tips from your book, and just give people an overview of what it is to make props. And you've brought some props already.
Yes. So I've been playing a lot of Destiny. So I've got some Destiny weapons. This was actually, I made this the day before Dragon Con.
Wow.
So it's all made out of EVA foam, and we'll talk more about the actual foam in a little bit. But I literally made this in like 4 or 5 hours, fabricated, painted. It probably still smelled like spray paint on the floor. But it's a testament to how quickly you can knock out a weapon with that material. And yeah, so there's that guy, little gun, hand cannon, that is.
Nice.
And then a knife from Destiny here. Very similar, slightly different techniques, and I'll get into that in a bit. But that guy, little hunter knife. But then we got like the big guns, like this fella right here.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this was for my Diablo costume. And again, it's all made out of foam floor mats. I didn't make this the day before. It took quite a bit longer. But it's big, it's lightweight, it's durable. It comes apart for travel. Yeah. And I actually designed it before I built it so that it would fit in my luggage, specifically when it came apart. So it's a perfect size.
Wow, let's show people some close-ups. I think we can do that even over the shoulder here.
Yeah.
With your camera, because this guy has texture to it. There's actual, this isn't just a paint job.
No.
There are actual real dimples in there.
Yep.
There's carvings in the foam to make it look like wood.
Yep.
And the way our light's bouncing off it, you can actually see some relief. It actually looks like a video game prop, like the model from a video game. That's super cool.
So there's a lot of reasons why I like using the foam. Now I love making like really nice cast resin props like the District 9 rifle. Yeah. But after a couple hours at San Diego Comic-Con hauling that thing around, I was thinking, hey, you know what would be great is if this didn't weigh 17 pounds.
You want the stunt version.
Exactly, yeah. So something to think about if you're going to run around in costume at a convention is that you may think 5 pounds is light for a prop. After 3 or 4 hours, it feels like a lead weight. And having a nice light foam thing is a huge benefit when you're carrying it around. Another good consideration is that this is flexible, durable, and it will not break if you throw it on the ground. And resin cast prop could shatter or crack. And the other thing too is like I said, this thing here, it's not the prettiest thing I've ever made, but I needed it fast. I got it done. It's lightweight. It's not going to break. And if, let's say, someone walks off with it, I'm not going to be too broken up about it. If someone ran off with that District 9 rifle, I'd have to hunt down their family.
Absolutely. So, before we get started, we should talk about just the material itself.
Yes.
Foam, and how foam maybe differs from other prop making materials, whether you're sculpting something from clay, whether even if you're building from foam core, or if you're making something then to mold it and to cast it, right? Foam is it a reductive process, an additive process? Where do you start?
A little of both. Usually I start by adding layers together. The foam in question is this stuff here. There's lots of different types of flexible foam. Usually I go for EVA foam. So like craft foam from the craft store. This stuff came from a supply store on the internet, which was really good. Then these are the floor mats, right? You go to Home Depot, this thing here is made mostly out of floor mats. It's got the texture on one side that you can either use to your advantage or remove.
Your fake carbon fiber.
Yep, for your Mass Effect armor. You've got your smooth side on the other side. And again, you can utilize those in different ways. And then you can get sheets of it. You can get big rolls. So this is a 2mm thin craft foam. And again, this stuff is super cheap, like ridiculously cheap. Like these were made from scraps that I had laying around. Some of the bigger stuff I had to buy a full sheet for. But this is a tube of 2mm stuff. And then this is a tube of probably 6mm thick. And I buy it in different thicknesses so that I can add layers on the side of my prop to bulk it out in various amounts.
How durable is that foam? Like, when you're showing me this act, you said it's pretty much indestructible.
Yeah, that's a combination of both the foam, because floor mats are meant to be walked on. They're very, very durable. And also the coating I put on that is a latex rubber. And that's also, if you put some good enough layers on there, it becomes very, very durable. So yeah, that's the other great thing. It's going to be durable, and if you drop it, it'll flex. It won't crack.
Nice.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's the foam. A lot of people ask specifics about foam. Whatever you can get that is flexible, durable, and you can glue it together is a good thing to use. So for example, this is all EVA. I believe this one is a Plastizote, which is slightly different. You can see that there's a different sort of shine on there compared to this stuff.
So it's mostly like the finish, like EVA is more, it's matte, but it's completely solid.
Yeah, I think it's
not porous.
Like this is maybe it's closed cell or open cell foam. I'm not entirely sure the differences of them, but really whatever you can get your hands on and you can cut it apart and glue it together will work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then it goes up to pretty thick foam. You can get some like L200, you can get some really big stuff that people like Frank Ippolito have used to carve things like dragons out of.
Yes, exactly. So I've got up to about a ½ inch here with the floor mat, but you can order from like specialty websites, or if you're in LA, you can go to like Foam Mart there and get 3-inch thick, big sheets of it. Different densities, L200, L300, L400. There's a lot of different options out there. You can go get those yoga blocks that they make. It's kind of a pricey way to get your material, but that's L400. It's a really, really dense, big block of foam, and then you could sculpt away from that if you wanted to.
Right, so at that point, it almost is just like clay, where you have a block of something, and you are using your tools to sculpt it away. But then you also layer. You're talking about you look at the foam as if it's a sheet of thin ply or something.
Yep. So for example, this guy here, the little dagger I've got, the middle part is a couple layers of floor mat, and then to get the text or the logo on there, I took some of the 2mm stuff and I pre-cut out that logo, and then I glued it down, and then I trimmed the edges flush. And that way, I mean, there's just a thin layer building outward. Same thing with, that's a really simple one. This one has a couple of different layers just going out from a sort of a main body part, building outward with different thicknesses.
All right. And then we mentioned tools. So what are the tools you use, not only to cut up the foam, but also to adhere them together? Well,
we've got a bunch of them right here. And another thing that people, because when I'm in my shop, I've got a bandsaw, I got all the fancy tools, but you can do all of this stuff with just a handful of fairly cheap tools. We'll start with like hand tools. Most of what I do ends up being done with a knife like this. You can use like a scalpel or an X-Acto. Any really sharp knife will work. I've got a couple of them. I've got a smaller one for like detailed stuff. But these ones are great because you have that long blade, and when you're drawing it through your foam, you can get a good, even, consistent cut. The other thing you want to do with your knife is make sure it stays really sharp. This is a brand new blade, but foam dulls blades like you will not believe.
It's like paper.
Yeah. In fact, I made my whole Mass Effect armor with a box cutter. I'd make a few cuts, throw the blade away, make a few cuts, throw the blade away, and then I wisened up and I got a blade sharpener.
Ah, okay.
So this is a little Kershaw blade sharpener. Put a little WD-40 on there, just drag it across a couple times like that, sharpen it up, and do more cuts. Awesome. You will not believe how easy this will make your life compared to having a dull blade that just tears and rips at your foam.
And so just a box cutter will do, and it can extend it long enough. Box cutter, blade sharpener, X-Acto, and you're all ready to go.
Yes.
Any other tools? Use straight edge.
It's not entirely necessary, but having a metal straight edge for making long cuts is really handy, especially if you want to make a nice 90-degree cut where the blade doesn't wander in or out. It's great to have. And then we've got some more higher end tools, but it's still not that much. I highly recommend just make the investment in a rotary tool, so your Dremel. And if you really got to go cheap, you can go get one used on Craigslist. They're really, really handy. Get all the bits for them and just play with all the bits and see what you like. I've got a cutoff wheel that I'll use from some stuff, but mostly just the normal drum sanding bit that comes with it is all you need. And that's really for sculpting and shaping your foam. So, for example, this is fairly squared off, but the handle is a little bit contoured, so I just went in with a rotary tool and rounded that off. What else do I have? I have a heat gun, not a hair dryer. This is an actual heat gun. You wouldn't want to use it to dry your hair. You'd melt your hair. But this guy, again, I got this at Harbor Freight for like $12. It's rock solid. It's lasted for years. But this is really good for heat bending foam, for helping your glue dry faster or helping your latex dry faster. This thing is a shop necessity.
You said heat bending. Does that work for all foams, where you can just apply it and then shape it?
Yeah, I don't do that a lot with with things that are kind of flat, but for contouring armor, you can totally just heat it up with a heat gun. It gets nice and pliable, and then bend it either by hand or over a form, and then if you hold it there, it'll keep that shape. So heat gun is totally a necessity. Yeah, and then we'll do like painting and stuff. So we've got brushes and cups and all that.
And then glues.
And then glue, which we've got a couple here, my favorites. People got their things they do, like my one buddy, David Carpenter, he uses hot glue for everything. That's fine, if he wants to do that. I like contact cement.
Okay.
And this is Barge in here. This is a glue bot, which is not necessary, but it's for like applying glue. The reservoir holds it down there, and then you can just apply a little bit out of there, which when you're laminating big areas, it's great to be able to lay that down versus constantly dipping into that can of Barge. Barge can be hard to get a hold of depending on where you live, but DAP Weldwood is available at hardware stores. I got this at Lowe's or at Orchard or whatever the other day. Very similar stuff. Barge is a little bit better, but if you can't get a hold of it, this stuff is good, and I believe it comes, it's got its own little brush right in the thing.
And with contact cement, you're not going to make a giant mess. Things aren't going to goop out from the sides.
Yeah.
And they basically stay together forever.
Yeah. The basic idea is you have your foam or whatever material, you brush contact cement on either surface, let it dry for about 5 minutes, and then press them together. And it allows you to have really, really precise areas where you glue them. You don't have any squeeze out, and the bond is stronger than the foam.
Awesome.
I also have some super glue here, which barely survived the trip. But for doing little tiny detail things, it's really great to have your super glue. Basically, all super glues are the same. They're all cyanoacrylate. This one is mine, and it's been through the war, but it still works. And I have a spray accelerant for that.
The kicker.
Yeah.
Oh, Insta-Set.
Yep. And
That's
this is actually
so important.
An aerosol one, so you can just get just a tiny bit instead of having to pump that crazy thing. So yeah, and most of the stuff I just get on Amazon or at the hardware store. In fact, just about everything here could be picked up from the hardware store. And that's all for the fabrication. I've also got, like I said, paints. Just normal acrylic paints work really well. Leatherworking paints are awesome because they're nice and flexible. And then I have some latex rubber as well, and that's kind of more advanced stuff. But like for the coating on here, latex rubber, you can pigment it with acrylic paints to do all your base coats. And yeah, it's fairly simple. It just dries like normal paints.
So these are the kinds of tips and techniques, and this is an overview of Bill's process that you cover extensively in your books, your series of books. And you have a new book that you have just launched. It's in your Foamsmith series.
Yes.
And this is Foamsmith 2.
Foam Boogaloo.
Foamsmith 1, which has been very popular, helped so many cosplayers and builders out there, people getting started. Love this book. I have a copy. Even Adam has a copy. What's in Foamsmith 2?
So Foamsmith 2, if I may, the first one centered on making armor. And everyone wants that show-stopping prop piece to go along with their costume or go along with the armor. So we wrote one just for doing weapons. So it's called How to Forge Foam Weapons. And the techniques are, I wanted to push a little bit, push people to try more advanced techniques. So it kind of builds on what you learn in the first book, and then shows off techniques and especially some more advanced tools like using powered saws. Again though, everything can still be done with all these basic tools.
Hey, nice t-shirt right there.
That's a pretty sweet t-shirt. I like that one a lot.
It's a tested t-shirt.
Yeah, so I push people to try more because weapon making can be a little bit more technical. But also in the book, 2 parts of it are specific prop builds. So that axe right there, I've got step-by-step, no punches pulled, how I built every single part of that. So you can kind of like go through it and get my thought process, my manufacturing process for building that. And then so that's the axe on the back there.
Nice.
And then the Jade Rabbit rifle from Destiny. I've also got a full build on that in there too. So again, there's a lot of information in there. And in fact, the book, if you pick it up, it comes with blueprints for both, like digital blueprints for both of those, so people can give it a try themselves. But we've been working on this for over a year, and we're really happy that it's out.
Awesome.
And in fact, that's supposed to say Jade Rabbit there, but one of the little kanji things fell off, so it says King Rabbit. So if anyone reads that, yeah, if anyone reads that and says that doesn't say Jade Rabbit, Bill, I know. Part fell off.
So the people who buy your book and read your stuff, and you write, you post blog posts, you write a column for us about your prop making adventures, not always just foam, but also stuff about resin casting, your testing of new tools. Do people ask, like, how do people get started? If someone has an idea, or maybe if they don't even have an idea, but they want to try building a foam weapon, do you say go for the armor first, go for the weapon first, start big, start small? Where do you get started?
Weapons are a great start because, especially something like this dagger.
Or let's say hand props.
Yeah,
hand props are a great start.
Yeah. This is just a couple of hours. I made it out of scraps. Your time and money investment is very minimal. And because of that, you're more likely to finish it and have a thing you can feel proud of and show off. So something like this is really good. In fact, on my YouTube channel, I have a video and a free template on how this guy was done. I also had a similar one on a different Destiny hand cannon. Again, it's small, you can build it out of scraps, and you'll actually finish it. Or there's a higher likelihood you'll finish it.
Right.
Versus saying, my first prop is going to be a ZF-1, and then 3 years later it's not done, it's in the closet, and you're just filled with sadness. So pick something small, pick something you think you can finish, pick something you really like though, something that you're obsessed over so that you'll, that's the driving factor that gets you to actually pick it up every day and work on it.
Replicate something as opposed to coming up with something original to start, because then you have some reference materials.
Yeah, the design work can get a little bit trickier, and again, any hurdle is going to be another reason for you to not finish it.
Yeah.
So yeah, pick up a thing like this guy right here, super simple. It's from Destiny. It's very two-dimensional. You'll actually finish it, and then you'll use that good feeling you got from finishing it to springboard you into your next project, and then work your way up. This is a half-finished sword I designed. It's supposed to be kind of Lord of the Rings dwarvish inspired, a little bigger, a little more invested, and then work your way up to something like this giant axe.
And then what about the actual finishing process? Because when you're working with foam, for most of the time it looks like this.
Right, yeah. There are a lot of different ways to finish it. Usually you'll want to seal the foam in a number of different ways, but it's not entirely necessary. This guy, I just put a lot of spray paint on it. And so there's you still see some texture on there, but again, I did it in a day. So not entirely necessary to seal it, but if you want something that's going to withstand the test of time, there's a lot of different ways you can seal it. This guy was sealed using Plasti-Dip, just out of a rattle can from the hardware store. It's basically aerosolized rubber for tool handles, and it comes out like a spray paint, and I put a good 5 or so layers on here before I painted it. People like Mod Podge or any other PVA glues. Those are really good, or wood glue can work really well. You can use epoxies if you want a nice, like, sort of rigid shell on the outside. And then there's lots of different rubbers you could use, like neoprene I've started playing with, or in this case, latex rubber, which I like a lot. So it really depends on what materials are available, what tools you have available, how much money you want to invest in it.
And then do these techniques, working with foam, then apply to other materials? Like, would you start with foam and then move on to clay and other types of sculpting?
Sure. Like, all of these techniques are basically based on taking a flat material, right? A flat two-dimensional material, cutting it into small pieces and gluing it together to form a three-dimensional form. And the same thing can apply for working with plywood or sheet metal or any other flat material. And then there are a lot of sculpting techniques too that are more subtractive that you would apply to, like, clay. So yes, a lot of those techniques transfer, and the great thing about foam is that the barrier to entry is so low, it makes a lot of sense to start there versus running to the store and grabbing a 4x8 sheet of plywood and a circular saw. And then realizing that you have no idea what you're doing.
It's almost kind of like it's advanced cardboard.
Yeah.
Right. When we were kids, you built things, swords with cardboard. Spaceships with cardboard, helmets with cardboard, and foam is just like the modern equivalent. Yeah. It's versatile. It's cheap. And you're still turning these 2D objects into 3D shapes. Right. And it's cool. And then you can use up to your tools, like if you have a bandsaw. You can then use that. You have CNC machines.
I do, yeah. The laser, oh my goodness, this stuff lasers so nicely.
Oh yeah?
Actually, here, I can grab the book real quick.
Yes, absolutely.
The guy right there, let me see, I'll grab a quick photo for the Jade Rabbit. The details on there, on the grip that my hand is covering, actually. No, the grip right there, that's what I did. The little rabbit part, laser cutter. Little grip part, laser cutter. The knurling on the front grip there, though, I showed how to do it by hand using a knife. But if you have access to a laser cutter, this stuff laser is great, especially for repeated patterns and stuff.
Oh, so you can add the texture with the laser, add your cross hatches, add all that stuff. And it's still, even if you have access to those tools and you can make a full resin prop, you're still, part of you for the right situation, you're going to gravitate toward the foam because of the weight, because of the flexibility, because you can take it to a convention. And
that's the other good consideration. A lot of conventions are, like, I guess, cracking down on their weapon policies. They have more specific weapon policies. And I know at Emerald City Comic Con this last weekend, they had some more specific rules, and I had like this gun here, and they're no problem. It's just a hunk of foam. So most conventions, having a non-functional foam prop, tip-top, you can go in there, no problem. Walking in with even a non-functional metal airsoft gun, then or even a wooden axe. Some conventions will say, nah, it's too heavy, it's too big, we don't want you going in there. So the foam things usually get the green light.
You ever put any electronics in your foam props?
Yes, yeah, doing wires and LEDs, you can totally do that. It's really easy. If you want to have panels on the side to access batteries or switches, you can. It's easy because it's so lightweight, just a couple magnets will hold that panel on. So I've done that before. It's extremely versatile. You can do the bulk of the work in foam, and for example on this, some of the pieces are resin cast. I just had some little molds that I put parts on. But I've also seen people do most of the prop in foam and then 3D print like greeblies and stuff to add more detail to it. So you can just make everything out of foam, or you can just add onto it or accent it with lots of different other techniques as your skill grows and you want to get more ambitious.
All right. Well, my skill with foam still at the beginning stages. So we, for the rest of this week, are going to embark on a project. Let's give people a preview. What are we going to do?
Sure.
What are the steps that we're going to take to get from idea to a prop?
All right, well, first we'll design something. I'm thinking some little hand weapons, like a short sword and maybe a hand axe. And we've got like a big roll of paper here, so we'll draw out our patterns, decide how we're going to support those materials for like longer pieces. For example, this guy has a piece of aluminum running the length of it on the inside so that it's rigid, it's not going to be all crazy floppy. And then we'll start figuring out like which thicknesses of foam we want to use, start designing and cutting those out, and then start gluing layers together. And then it's just an additive process. Design a part, glue it back on, glue it onto the main form, sculpt it a little bit, use a rotary tool to shape anything that we need to, and then you just keep kind of building out from there until you're happy with it. We're going to try and seal it a bit. We've got some latex over there, so we're going to give that a go just to showcase that. Do some painting techniques. I've got some, whoops, I'll just set that down. I've got some leather here. Figured we'd wrap the grips with some real legit leather. Nice. Which Barge is designed for. Really fantastic. And then we'll do some painting and weathering, and by the end of today or the end of the week, we'll have some really sweet looking foam props.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's awesome, awesome project. So glad to have you here, and you guys should absolutely, first of all, watch Bill's videos. Yep. He has his YouTube channel. The links are all below. Check out his website, check out his column on Tested, and check out his new book. It's called Foamsmith 2, How to Forge Foam Weapons. All the information is in the description below, and we're gonna have a lot of fun this week. But thanks for giving us this overview of what we're gonna do, and thank you guys for watching. You gotta go to tested.com tomorrow. We'll have the next part of the series, and Bill and I are gonna make some foam weapons.
Yes, we are.
Until then, we'll see you next time.
See you guys.